The average person touches their phone more than 2,500 times a day. They spend around 2.5 hours each day using it, split between more than 70 sessions, and those numbers are only increasing. A recent study said that average time on device is increasing by 11 minutes a year, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Your phone is a little device that basically makes you telepathic. It lets you transmit your thoughts through the air to other people wherever they are, and lets other people transmit their thoughts to you, or to everyone. And if that isn't telepathy, I don't know what is. So it's not really difficult to get people to look at their phones. That's the easy part. What is difficult is getting people to download and use your app in particular. The reality is that only a tiny fraction of apps get visibility in the app stores. There are literally millions of apps in Google Play and in the Apple App Store. Not downloads, not versions, millions of individual apps. How on earth are you going to make yours stand out? And if you do have an independent app that exists without a big brand or popular maker behind it, it's going to be even more difficult. With all that choice, how do you get people to see what you're offering? There is a lot to consider. First, there's the process of actually getting your app onto the store. It's not difficult, but you will have to make sure that you are complying with all the rules and conditions of each one of those stores you're choosing to publish in. And once your app is approved, then it can start being downloaded. And that's when the real work starts, the marketing. You have to worry about optimization, keywords, titles, screenshots and videos, rankings, ratings, visual design, proper categorization, and some other stuff that didn't fit into that one breath. And I know there's people out there rolling their eyes at this. That's the boring stuff, the soft stuff. Just build it and they will come. But it is just as much a part of the job as actually making the app itself, and it is just as important, arguably more so. All of those details help bring the eyeballs and the thumbs and any other body parts that people are using phones with just after you launch. We're going to talk about that. But we're also going to talk about other ways to gain the Apple Store or the Android charts in your favor, because there are marketing moves that you can make that can change all your odds. And some of those moves are fine, some are a bit more dodgy. App Store Optimization, ASO, is the process of optimizing a mobile app so it ranks higher in App Store search results. The higher its ranking in the search results, the more visible it is to potential customers, and that increased visibility tends to translate into more traffic to your app's page in the App Store. It's starting that helpfully self-fulfilling process of higher rankings mean more clicks, mean higher rankings. And it requires a real understanding of your customer base, what keywords they're going to use to find apps similar to yours. And includes all the aspects of marketing, everything from awareness, appeal, the App Store descriptions, the images, the ratings, the reviews, even social media presence. There are, of course, dark ways to do that, the same way that people try to spam YouTube and Google, but that is a great way to get a lot of unsatisfied users, low reviews, and eventually get your app banned.
70% of all apps globally are discovered through search. I know it sounds really simple, but what we actually see, and this is a big no-no, is that the App Store experience is very much about the product. The reality is that the consumer doesn't care about the product. They want to know what is the value that this app is going to bring. So rather than here's a wish list, it should be build a wish list for shopping, like very, very specific terms based around driving a call to action. So either telling someone, download this for X and download it because of X. So the first thing, which is really, really basic, is that just tell them what they want.
Do Apple and Google track installs and uninstalls and feed that into App Store rankings?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so historically, ASO was a little bit more simple. So you would literally change the metadata and the keywords, and you would be able to get quite decent ranks. What's actually happened over time, and this is why it has become a bit more complex, is that Apple and Google want people to be served with good products. So it's all about having a good product and it has to be relevant. Historically, what you would be able to do is buy loads of installs from lots of other, any place you could do, usually for really cheap, but not good installs. You would shoot up the ranks and then your app would be at the top and then people would see it. So Apple and Google, they don't like that because what it means is that it's not about the quality of the product. It's actually about how much money someone's got to spend on getting them up there.
And that's presumably put together in a click farm somewhere, probably in China, which is just loads and loads of phones all automatically clicking buttons and downloading things.
So that is one way of doing it. But even before that, so there is many ways that you can encourage someone to download an app. You've got paid media, you've got organic. Within paid, there is one area which is called incentivized media. So
it's those pop-ups that say you can get into this site for paying this money or by downloading this app.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Or the most common is you're playing a game, you need to buy a fence for your farm, for your goats. Rather than putting your credit card details in, it says download this app, we'll give you the credit, and off you go and build your farm. And that was, it's not illegal. It was very, very legal. But Apple and Google, very quickly cottoned on, and actually they started to really clamp down on apps that had that in the system. So historically it was a lot easier. Now there are lots of trigger points, some of the ones that I just mentioned. So for the first time ever, at the end of June, Google came out on their Android developer blog and said quite simply, if you have a low retention rate, if you have a high churn rate, and if you have a high uninstall rate, we are not going to promote your app. So that was a direct signal that the algorithm is not just looking at ratings and reviews and installs, they're actually looking at product. And I think it's a really smart move actually, because the ecosystem is built around quality. The better the products, the more people we spend, the better for the customer and better for developers to make better products. So that all works well. If there's loads of really rubbish products being promoted and people are downloading it and just uninstalling them, then it creates a false ecosystem where there's no trust. So App Store optimization, when we started this business 3 years ago, was quite simple. We could manipulate the charts, we could manipulate the organic ranks, not the charts actually, I'll talk about the charts in a second. We could manipulate the organic ranks really quite easily. Now it's a lot more complex.
What's the difference between charts and organic ranks?
It's a great question. So historically, this is specific to the App Store actually. So for iOS, and Google's slightly different, we'll talk about them in a second. But for iOS, up until the beginning of last year, the most prominent area of the App Store was the charts. So when you went into the App Store and you went to your phone, the first thing you would see straight away is top free, top paid, and then you would have categories. So the whole, the aim of the game for the past 6 or 7 years that I've been working in mobile marketing was how can we get to the top of those charts? Because you get to the top of the charts, people go into the App Store, they see it, the organic and halo effect of being there is all great and it's all amazing.
At the top of the charts.
And you stay at the top of the chart. So we used to do lots of what we call chart boosting activity. So chart boosting was how can we use things like incentivized media to get them up there. We knew that the quality of incentivized for most categories wasn't that great, but we knew that once the eyeballs were there and people would choose to do it. When iOS 11 came out, there was a huge shift within the App Store. So the shift moved hugely away from charts and really into search. So the charts in the App Store now are pretty much invisible. So to actually get to the charts, you have to go into apps, then you have to go all the way down to the bottom, then you have to click. They are buried deep. But the most prominent area within the App Store now is the search bar.
We are now downloading less than one app a month. So if you're going and searching, it comes back to how important your App Store listing is. When people visit your listing, you have a window, a shop front. So perhaps people that don't know the app that you're launching are looking for, what you're offering, sort of historical, interesting facts or whatever. So they might type that into the App Store. Your listing comes up. And when they look at that listing, it has to be compelling. The images within that have to be explanative. They have to explain what the app is offering. Having a video in there is going to be really important as well, because we're very pictorial. I mean, the point I made earlier is that we're changing as consumers. We have big expectations. We make decisions far quicker in this digital world than we've ever done before. So image, picture, explanation, all those really important. But having your reviews underneath and 4 or 5 stars is absolutely essential. So if somebody eventually comes to your App Store listing and you've only got 1 or 2 stars, the chances are they're not going to download. In fact, statistics would suggest 10 to 15% of those people would download it, 85% wouldn't. If you've got 4 or 5 stars, you're looking at 85 to 90% people going to download. So having those reviews, having those stars is absolutely essential.
The ratings and reviews in the App Store are a goldmine, as in a goldmine of information. It's free user feedback. People pay tens of thousands of pounds to know what people think about their product, but they've got thousands of reviews in the App Store of people telling them. So we look at obviously all of that, and we have all types of different ways of scraping and looking at sentiment analysis and stuff like that. But then also what we do for our clients is we do it for we scrape the competitors as well. So we can see, again, what people love about the competitor apps and what they hate about them. So you can start to look at, what is good for you and your users, but also your competitors and their users and what they're doing. So then you can start to, again, either add things into the product or take them out or whatever that might be. So it's evil, but in a good way.
You have to be looking at all the opportunities you potentially have. As you say, you have a follow base. That's very opportune of you, and you can utilize that to obviously grow your app. A lot of those businesses that come to market perhaps don't have that user base. So as a consequence of that, they need to be looking at how they utilize their App Store listing to make sure it is compelling and also found when people are searching. Make sure that the app is tagged up so it's actually found when people are actually searching on Chrome and Safari. You have to utilize friends, relatives, all those kind of things to push and share. Virality of app is really important. If it is useful, making sure that you've got buttons within the app that people can say, oh, I like this, so I'm going to send it to my friends and family. That's, they are just a snapshot. And ultimately, on top of all of this, it has to be designed well and look well. If it looks good, then Apple, if you're launching it on the App Store, Apple could potentially pick up on that. And the value of them finding your app, liking it, and it's compliant to their rules, regulations, and it's easy to use, they will then potentially feature it. And if you get a feature of your app, you're looking at 5, 10, 15, 20,000 downloads over the first sort of 3-4 weeks. And that is invaluable.
We're publishing the app to Android, which means we have to use the Google Play Store. It is technically possible to publish apps outside of the App Store, but it makes it almost impossible for users to find and install your app unless they already know about it. The only major app that has ever been able to work around that is the game Fortnite. And that's because kids were so desperate to play it that they were willing to follow complicated instructions that deliberately bypass the phone and Google's security. I'll be following the official process. But whether it's the Google Play Store or Apple's App Store, there are a specific list of steps that you will have to follow in order to get your app published. And I'm not going to give you click-by-click instructions because by the time you see this video, they will probably have changed it. But to upload to the Google Play Store, I will have to create a Google Play Publisher account. I will also have to fill out a bit of required information, the Google Play Developer Console, agree to all its distribution terms and conditions, pay the registration fee of $25 and wait for verification. Once my account gets verified, then I actually get to publish the app. Google Play has the Developer Console, and to be fair, even beginners and first-time app publishers won't have a hard time understanding how to go about it. If you choose to publish on iOS, expect a more laborious process. The publishing fee on Apple's App Store is much steeper than Google Play. It costs $99 a year for private individuals or for small companies to register, and for large development teams, it costs $299 a year. They are also much more picky about what they expect of the apps that they publish. There are huge numbers of guidelines, and those guidelines include the wonderful phrase, "The lists below are not exhaustive, and your submission may trigger a change or update to our policies." Or at least it includes that phrase as I record this. And it's basically a catch-all magic clause that says, if you're trying to do an end run around the guidelines, or you've produced something that we just don't like, we reserve the right to just kick you out anyway. Organic search is the main way that people will find your app. Over the last few years, it has become the way that people will find you, either through the App Store's search directly or through web search. And keywords in titles and descriptions are more important than you might think. Make sure that your app will appear in as many searches as possible without resorting to keyword spam. Next up, the App Store. It is a shop window. Once people find your app, you have to convince them to download it. So be sure that your app has strong visual design in that shop window. Your icon, like any good logo, should be striking and it should be appealing and memorable. Think about what will make you and your app stand out and how you can use screenshots and videos to show users why they should choose you over everyone else. Next up, use features and promotions to get a head start. App stores have human curators who use particular apps and feature them and promote them, but only a few apps get featured. If you can find a way to network your way in, it's worth trying. Boosting visibility will really help your app. The App Store and Google Play Store also hold seasonal promotions, and they can often be your best bet for getting discovered. And finally, reviews. They are critical to conversion. Users might find your app via search and be intrigued by your screenshots and your videos, but if you have bad review scores, you're in trouble. But don't obsess over it. A few bad reviews are inevitable, and you can reply to reviews on the App Store as the publisher. This helps users see that you recognise any issues and you're working to solve them. Coming up in the last episode, how to keep your app alive after launch, or how to kill it.